Recently I had a chance to visit a place that had been on my bucket list for a long, long time. A place that felt so remote, so impossible, that I never thought I'd actually ever make it there. But I did, and the Maldives were somehow even more incredible than I had imagined. Flying from London via Dubai on the incredible Emirates, an airline I am a big fan of, the journey to the capital Male took about 16 hours in total. But that's not quite the end of the journey.
So when you think about the Maldives, it's over 1,000 islands spread across 29 atolls, tens of thousands of square miles of sea and land, but actually only about 150 square miles of land. So you have to get between all of those islands. And so there's a huge network of seaplanes that are constantly running back and forth, not just taking spoiled brats like me, but also people that are going to work, to and from work, medical supplies, taking people to hospital, people commuting. So there's this huge swarm of planes constantly in the sky, dotting around the islands.
And a seaplane is how we got to our island too. Stepping off an Emirates 777 and onto a Trans-Maldivian Airways Twin Otter was quite the contrast. But what better way to be introduced to the Maldives? The 40-minute flight north to Ra Atoll gives you a perfect view of paradise. Landing directly in the resort's marina was certainly a unique experience for me, but the pilots made it look effortless. Greeted off the plane by the resort team, you're whisked off to your room on a golf cart. And what a room it was.
If you want to create your own travel vlogs but don't know which editing software to use, well, today's sponsor, Wondershare Filmora, has you covered. Their latest version, Wondershare Filmora 12, is packed full of features to make editing easier.
Like AI Audio Stretch, which lets me fit a piece of background music to a clip even if the clip is longer than the track. I don't have to cut or repeat the track manually anymore. Another great feature is adjustment layers. I used a ton of different clips in this video, and normally I'd need to adjust the parameters of each clip separately. Now I can make the adjustment, like color grading, in one adjustment layer and apply it to all selected clips. It saves a ton of time. Finally, Wondershare Filmora is truly compatible. I am fairly obviously often on the road, on trains, planes, and everything in between. But wherever I am, I can always edit with Filmora on my phone, Windows, or Mac.
Click on the link in the description below to try Wondershare Filmora 12 for free. And hey, don't forget to come back and share what you've created with the Attaché community. We'd love to see it.
Coming here was a lot of firsts for me. First time coming to the Maldives, of course, but also I'm not really a big resort guy. It's not usually my kind of travel, so this is, I think, probably the first time I've done anything like this before. It's also absolutely the first time I've ever done an all-inclusive, which takes some getting used to. Not really, again, something that I've experienced before. And my brother Andrew said that if you've done an all-inclusive and you don't come back with gout, you haven't done it right. So there's a lot of indulgence, a lot of great food, and all of that stuff. But for me, so much of it was about where I was in the world, in the middle of nowhere on an island, surrounded by islands, and how that all worked.
Heading out on a traditional Maldivian fishing boat, you really appreciate just how remote you and the Maldives are. While dolphins frolic in the unbelievably warm waters, you can see islands all around you, some inhabited, others teeming with life, and others, as we discovered on a jet ski sojourn with some Maldivian surfers, that only exist for a few hours at a time. It's a very strange feeling to be standing in ankle-deep water in the middle of the ocean. But how do these islands actually work?
No cars. Everybody either rides bike. Every single hotel room gets a couple of bikes, and that's the best way. To circle their island is only 1.6 kilometers, so might as well walk. But that's generally how you get around. There are golf carts going everywhere, taking staff and guests around, as well as maintenance buggies and little electric motorcycles. But that's about as much as you're going to get.
And as you walk around the resort, watching the giant fruit bats gliding menacingly overhead, don't worry, they're completely harmless, you notice that it is a well-oiled machine. Restaurants, swimming pools, bars, not to mention the rooms, they all have to be staffed, stocked, and maintained. But by whom?
Everybody that works here, almost without exception, lives on the island too. It was very interesting to learn about that. They've got a sleeping quarters, a mess hall, kitchen, games, laundry in the middle of the island. And if you think about it, they all have to be reasonably self-sustaining as well. So water is desalinated, and right here, some other islands, they use rainwater filtration systems. I think some islands like this use a combination thereof. Wastewater is used for irrigation, your bathrooms and all of that, that's just desalinated water. So there's that too. Food comes in fresh. A lot of the fish that you eat, obviously the diet and menu are very seafood driven, is bought from the local fishing villages and fishermen straight off the boat, and it's all really, really delicious. See, I'm the kind of guy that comes to these places and it's like, oh, isn't the weather beautiful and the sea clear? Yes, that's all fine, but where does the trash go? A lot of it's recycled. There's a local island, which is what they call islands that aren't resorts, so where people live, work, and play. But going around the island, you see schools and mosques and restaurants and football pitches, as you would expect in a little village that wasn't on an island. And there they do some of the trash processing. A lot of islands, it's taken off on a barge. There's a big central waste center just on one of the islands next to Male, where it is processed and sorted and recycled and dealt with. So it's of course problems they've solved for decades, if not generations, but that you don't ask yourself, how do they deal with trash in the Maldives, until you get there. And as you go around on boats and jet skis and you look in the water, it's very not just clear but clean. You don't see much detritus or flotsam, which is it's great. I think from what I understand, parts of the atolls and the reef act as natural filters, but I think there's just a general respect, especially as most of the boats that you see out on the water are Maldivian, and they're not going to be transient craft, at least at this part, that might have a little less respect for the waters that they pass through. So again, another question I was just completely fascinated by.
And for the record, I didn't spend the entirety of my trip contemplating how the Maldives worked. Of course I swam, I jet skied, I ate, obviously, and I snorkeled. The snorkeling was extraordinary, the water's teeming with life. And for those of you who like to see me suffer, here is the exact moment when I was stung by a nasty little jellyfish.
Got me.
Great job.
It's very impressive. I had so many questions about this place. I still have so many, but I'm captivated.
I have never been in a place quite like this. The resort was incredible on every level. Not just the food, but the facilities, the people, and the quality of it all. The rooms were otherworldly. Being able to step out of your room, down some steps, and into the perfect blue ocean was like nothing I have ever experienced before. But for me, where I was struck me the most. The islands, the water, the remoteness of it all. To this day, I still find myself asking questions about how it can all possibly work. But it does, and it's paradise.